Excellent connection.
Live.
3 seconds. Yes. And you get...
Start here, then go OBS.
Looks like it. There we go, there we go. You gotta go, you gotta go to this. Oh, there you go, yeah. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's what I saw.
Mic test. All right, guys, welcome to the live stream. Took a little bit to get started, so we missed a little bit of quality. Had some trouble getting the stream up on YouTube, but here we are for the next 2 hours, going around Okayama in the GT500 class. At the top of quality, we got Hugo and Matt Devlin. Put up a 120.58. Got a solid second on between gap between first and second with Justice and Nunzio. Put up a 121.6. Gets pretty tight after that. We go to a 21.8. 22.2 for for Shane and Keith. Mike put up a 23.10. Chris with a 23.7. Tony Abrams, 24.2. Eliana TJ, 24.7. Team Loco putting up a 126. And Victor had to drop out. So this is our gap tonight, our grid tonight. I'll do my best to jump around to the closest gaps and give you some commentary along the way. Stay tuned. Got a quick break. All right, there's been some drama. I don't know if you can hear the banter in the background, but people decided to check their fuel and they ended up getting teleported to the pits. So now Nunzio, who qualified in second, has to start from the back, start from the pits. He's taunting the guys ahead of him in first and third, Hugo and Matt, and Henry and Ryan, Shane and Keith in fourth, to start from the pits as well. Looks like Henry and Ryan teleported. Not sure if it was on purpose or not, but we are about to start now. And we're off. 2 hours and counting. We're on a 12x time multiplier, so this 2-hour race will simulate a whole day of racing. We're starting in the afternoon, overcast. Should go into a night session. We'll have about 8 hours of darkness, simulated by about 30 minutes of real racing, and then they'll pop out to the morning and finish in the daylight. So full daylight of racing, lots of changes in the track conditions and temperatures. Looks like we got some pretty good racing right here for P2. He's only half a second back. Also, we got we got a lot of contact. What a mess! All sorts of chaos. I don't know who was at fault there, but we came in and just caught it right on time. I hear some laughing in the back, so it sounds like it's all in good spirits. Nunzio, who started in 17th, is here back in 6th place. I had left my car on the grid. Don't want to have any hazards on the front straight. Here, this is Hugo and Matt Devlin with a solid 2-second lap. 2-second gap on the second lap. So significant lead right out of the gates. Running a 27-second, a 1 minute and 27-second lap right out of the start. Looks like his delta showing about 4 seconds faster so far. Purple sector. The gaps are already starting. TJ and Elion trying to close the gap up on Nuns. Currently a 1.2 second gap. See if I can get some more of these names to show up. It looks like, I don't know why this is 17 and 18. It should be 1 through 10, but we'll be good. Looks like TJ was falling behind here, now 3 seconds back. But Nunzio trying to close the gap on Chris Martinez. He's running solo tonight, one of the few guys running solo. Almost everybody's teamed up except for Mike, who's currently in 7th. Chris is currently in 4th. And Tony Abrams is currently in 3rd. So let's see how they do after 2 hours on the sim. Running solo. Looking like 3 pit stops for fuel and tires. It's not only taxing on the car, but also the driver. Keith and Shane, they must have been caught up in that wreck in lap 1 because they started in 4th place. They're trying to battle back now, closing the gap on Mike. We'll stay on board here with them for a little bit to see if we can close the gap and get an overtake here on the onto the front straight. And this is Shane driving for the team. I see Keith over there spectating. This is a Shane for Team Keith and Shane. Right on the draft here. Looking for the overtake. Got the inside line. Hits the late braking zone. Nice clean overtake. That puts him about 2 seconds behind TJ and Elion. I think that's TJ driving. I see Elion looking over his shoulder. So let's see if TJ can defend against Shane. Oh, let's jump ahead to Nunzio and Chris. Nunzio's coming up on Chris. He's going to take that inside. Brakes a little early. Chris did give him that line, though. This is a nice little battle for looking at P3. Ooh, Chris with the spin. Just loses it slightly, and Nuns has a nice, easy slip into 4th place. Still puts him about 1.3 seconds down from Tony. But let's go back to Mike. Mike, Keith, and TJ. Oh, TJ just gets the spin. Mike is close up on Keith. So this was Shane. We were just looking at him. He was in 8th place, already back up into 5th. Shane and Keith are a solid team. I think they're going to be a contender for the podium. Didn't have that rough start, but it's a long race, so let's see how it goes. Let's go back on to Nunzio. Less than 1 second gap to Tony. Tony goes a little wide on that sweeping right-hander and gets the overtake. Made it look too easy, but little mistakes have big consequences, especially in an endurance race. We got Henry and Ryan, 7 seconds off the leader. So we'll keep an eye on the times here. Tony's hunting him down. So one of our spectators here at Apex One just came up and gave me the suggestion to turn the map on so we have a better overview of what's going on. I have a race control so I can see it, but this, aside from the gaps, this will give you a good picture of what's going on. You can see we're on Tony Abrams in 4th right here. We got a nice battle between 6th and 7th, so let's jump over there now and see what's going on. Also see the sun starting to set. It's getting a little bit darker. Having an overcast condition will make it darker longer. So we're on board with Chris Martinez here as he approaches Mike. Looks like it's about a 1 second gap here. Mike put up a 24.8, while Chris did a 24.3. So Chris, if he can keep that same pace, is half a second faster. So within a lap or two, he should be able to close that down. Now it looks really dark from our screen here, but when you go into the driver's cab, it does look a little bit brighter for them. So this is what the drivers are seeing. We got some fireworks in the distance over there. Japan celebrating their racing. He's got the gap down to a half second. Let's see if he can get the overtake. Oh, and another spin. Trying not to bounce off the walls. Damage is on. Damage is reduced to 50%, but every little bit of damage helps, or hurts rather. Damages the aero, which loses speed on the straights, loses grip in the corners. Serious damage can affect your steering, and major damage, if you go straight into a wall, can ruin your engine. We're going to do a more TV broadcast. We're going to bounce around a little bit. He just made a pass. I just saw it. It was hard to see in the TV screen, but I saw both of the dots here in the corner. Shane, currently driving for the Shane and Keith team, just battled his way back up into fourth from 8th place. Some quick driving. Let's take a look at his lap times. Shane is putting up, his last lap was a 22.6, with his best lap being a 22.395. So he's only 0.3 off of his pace, 2.5 tenths off of his best lap. Hugo and Matt, by comparison, are running 22.2 for the last lap with a 21.4 for their fastest. So much quicker pace. Oh no, Tony gets a spin right off of that exit going into the fast front straight. That's going to cost him a lot of time. That's one of the fastest sections of the track. Mike easily takes his position back, but Tony gets a lot of racing ahead of him. If you're trying to understand everyone's position and where they're at, you can also see the number, their position on the F1 leaderboard there represents where their location is on the map. So you can see we're on board with Tony Abrams here. 6th place, identified by number 6 on there. Let's look at number 8 and 9. We got possible overtake here by Team Loco. Let's jump on board and see what it's looking like. He's closing that gap down. Had a bad exit there, lost a little bit of gap between the two drivers. We got our first lapped driver. I'm gonna jump off this real quick. So that was just Matt and Hugo lapping the last place Chris. Chris has had good pace, but he's just had bad luck with the spins. Go back on board with Hugo and Matt as they're coming up on positions 8 and 7. Again, we got Hugo and Matt running as a team, putting up 1:22.3 for their last lap. Coming into the front straight, 22.8. By comparison, they're hunting. They already passed 8th place. They're coming up on 7th. 7th is Elian and TJ. They did a 27.8, so significantly faster, 5 seconds roughly on their last lap. This is what the drivers are looking at right now. Almost tunnel vision using the night racing. But at least the driver's got about 10 laps in with good visibility. So they've got really good track muscle memory. Just got to remember where those apexes are. Ooh, what a pass on the outside. That was not a pass for position, as we are on board with the leaders here, but that was a blue flag that he overtook on the outside. That was a ballsy move from the race leaders. As we can see on the map, position 1 has clear roads ahead of him for a long time, so we're going to jump on board with 4th place. Shane and Keith coming up on Nunzio and Justice. We got Nunzio driving for the team right now. And Shane is working to close the gap. Let's look at their lap times. Shane and Keith. Shane just put up his best lap on the last lap at 22.3, and then he just put up a 22.8. which was the fastest lap of the last laps by a significant margin. So he's closing this gap on Nunzio and Justice, who just put up a 23.7, so 9/10 faster. With him being down about 1 second, within the next lap, if they can keep this pace, he'll pass him. We'll take a quick look over at Chris and TJ. Closing the gap down. 1 second, we're going back to 4 and 3 to see if there's any drama going into that hairpin. It's common overtaking zone. Back on to Chris Martinez. Seems like he has a much faster pace than TJ and Elion, with TJ driving here. But Chris has been unlucky with those spins, so let's see what he can do here coming into the front straight. It's a much better exit. Can he make a move going into turn 1? He goes for it. He's got the inside line, and he's late on the brakes. Holds the corner. Nice overpass. Overtake. Going back out of the car. Back to Shane and Keith. This is the closest battle at the moment. Again, 8/10 off of him. This is the tightest section of the track, so it looks like they're really close. And they are, 3/10 apart. Oh, we got somebody on the side of the road here. Who was that? Team Loco, unfortunately, had a spin coming into that infield. We're going to go back on with Keith and Shane, closing the gap on Nunzio and Justice. 7/10. Nunzio had a better exit. You see him pulling away there on that front straight. We haven't been on board much with Henry and Ryan, so let's jump over there real quick. They just started their lapping their traffic too. They just passed 8th place and 7th place. Going into it, they've kind of off the radar, kind of fallen back from P1 and just such a solid gap from P2 or from P3. So they're just kind of running their own race right now. But Nunzio seems like he's closing the gap on him a little bit. With Henry and Ryan running, 21 seconds off the leader, Nunzio 27.5 seconds, Keith 29.5 seconds. So the front of the race is tightening. Back to Shane and Keith. They're going to be coming up into traffic too, so depending on how Nunzio and Justice does managing this traffic, it might give Shane and Keith a big advantage. If the TJ and Alien car aren't able to keep their pace up, it might slow Nunzio and Justice down just enough to let Shane and Keith overtake them. I hear the co-drivers yelling at the other ones in the back saying, "Let us through," because they know that he's causing traffic. And look at, just like I thought, here we go, three wide. Look at this. Shane threads the needle, hits the brakes on the outside. Oh. Some friendly banter in the back between the teams. But the positions did not change. Nunzio and Justice still holding on to P3, with Shane and Keith hunting him down. Just when I went to the TV mode, they closed the gap down to less than half a second, so I'm not sure what happened there. But Nuns or Justice must have gone wide just a little bit because they had about a second lead. Down to about half a second again. Justice and Nunzio are running about a half second faster on their fastest lap right now based on their current deltas, which they need right now with Shane and Keith hunting him down. Shane has a little bit of a spin. Oh, he saves it and then almost spun again. Oh, good patience, good reaction time. Saved what could have been catastrophic. He did lose a lot of time, but not bad. He did also fall behind. I think that was TJ that passed him. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was the Team Loco in ninth. Am I mistaken? No, that was TJ. And then I think TJ just went off because you see him on the map. I think he just went off. Gave it right back. Let's look at P1. Who's he overtaking? Oh, Team P9. Team Loco had some bad luck there. Went off into the sand. Now they got dirty tires. They're trying to spin the wheels. You gotta have patience when you've been on the grass, in the sand. You have no grip. You see it there. They're still struggling with it. Gotta have patience on the gas. Nice and easy, nice and easy. Good awareness. So he was watching his map, watching the relatives. His P2, Henry and Ryan just drove by while he was trying to regain his position. Also, we got P3, P7, and then P4 all coming up on him right now while he's still trying to clean his tires off, warm them back up, maintain some grip. Tons of drama in these first 17 laps. We got Shane and Keith closing down on him. That was Team Loco that spun. Team Loco, to their credit, they had requested the GTR, but I had mistakenly put them in a Supra. And since the server's already up, they were troopers and took the Supra. So some of these spins might be my fault. These cars all do drive differently. Some people love one and hate the other. Supra was their backup choice, but not their primary. So I am a little to blame for some of their inconsistencies, but appreciate their willingness. Oh, who was that just went by? P7, Chris. Another spin. That's the second time in that corner at least that we've seen. That corner is tricky. It's hard to see at night, but maybe in the daytime I'll try to get a different angle for you. But coming up that corner is a lot of elevation change, and the car suspension really does decompress. Looking at the map, it looks like the field is pretty spread out again. Jump on board with the leaders. have TJ and P7 closing the gap on P9. 3 and 4 look like they're decently close as well. With Henry and Ryan still maintaining a solid P2. Haven't really been tested much. We're on board with Mike. Mike does go for a pass here, but I think he's a lap down. The guy he just passed. Oh no, I'm sorry. He's passing Chris here. My mistake. P7. This is TJ still driving for TJ and Ellie on team. Coming up on some traffic. This is P9, so this is not for a position. Same with Chris Martinez in P8. He's coming up on P5, which is Mike. But again, not for position. He must be a lap down. Looking at the map, Hugo and Matt have a significant lead. 30 seconds over P2, which is about a third of the lap. Back on board with the race leaders. Trying to see if we can watch their lines. These GT500 cars are very fast. They look like production cars, but have almost 600 horsepower, lots of aero. They drive almost like prototypes more than they do GT3s. Or just jumped over to Mike really quick. Just going through some traffic. Mike is in 5th, but he's passing 8th and 7th. coming up on 7th rather. But while I'm looking at the map, we see 8th pulling up right behind him. And of course we got Hugo and Matt pulling up behind everybody. So, oh, another spin. Who is this? P7. TJ spun at the same spot Chris spun in the last lap or two. And then Chris gets the overtake back into P7. Look at the... He might still be a lap down on... Yeah, he's still a lap down behind Mike. Oh, and he spins again in P1. Hold those brakes. P1 just past Chris who had spun. TJ goes a little wide as Hugo and Matt go right around him. But no incident, no problem. Oh shoot, Nunzio just took P2. Henry and Ryan I think had a spin. They're going into the pits right now. I don't know if they have damage or if they're just going to try to change their tires, maybe change drivers. We'll see. They're 23 laps in, probably getting low on fuel. So they're going to fall down. Keith and Shane are going to take third. I'm sorry, yeah, take third, and Nunzio's going to take second. We're at that time in the race where, depending on which car you're driving, you might be running out of fuel. I think some guys were getting 23 to 24 laps, while other cars were getting around like 27, 28 laps. Could also be your strategy. You know, some guys are lifting and coasting a little bit more to try to manage that fuel. It is a long race, so there's lots of strategies in play. P5 is entering the pits. Mike, he's a solo driver, so we know he's not changing drivers, but he's probably going in for fuel or tires. I think he just put up a 121. Is that him? Oh no, that was Hugo and Matt. That's the best lap, is 121. That's the D there. Back on board with Chris Martinez coming up on TJ and Elion. Chris is a solo driver, so some pros and cons to running it by yourself. You get a lot more track time, a lot more seat, experience. Feel the car a little bit more, but at the same time you might get fatigued. 2 hours is a long time. But right in front of TJ and Elion is, that's Team Loco in 9th place. We're going to jump over to the race leader as he's just coming up on some traffic. Let's see how he handles this. Very easy. I think whoever he just passed in 4th. Yeah, Henry and Ryan just let him pass. They have fresh tires and fuel, so they don't need to try to battle. Oh no! Spins right out of the first lap, out of the pits. Those tires still might be a little bit cold. He wasn't ready for it, especially at night. Colder track temps, no sun to warm the road. We have a 2-second gap here between Justice and Nunzio versus Shane and Keith. This is the closest battle for position at the moment. He's already closed it down to second. Goes a little wide though. And gives it all back. Try some different camera angles here. See if we get some TV cam action. Some of these cameras are a little bit funny. They're so far away. See a lot of the stands and the surrounding environment. The gap between Nunzio and Keith team is now 3 seconds, so missed something, but definitely lost some time here. some heckling between the teams again. These endurance races are fun. There's always, it's good when they're teamed up, because then you have your teammates over there talking trash to the other teams. The R button on the wheel resets you to pits, but one of the drivers, Nunzio, told the leaders, Matt and Hugo, that the R means race. Tell them to push it to get into race mode, you'll go faster. All in good fun. So let's go back on board the overview here. I think these guys just came out of the pits. Yeah. The race leaders, Matt and Hugo, took a pit stop and are still in first place. P2 also took a pit stop. Shane and Keith, I'm just looking now, they've had 2 pit stops, same with Henry and Ryan. I wonder how that happened. Meanwhile, Tony Abrams has not had any pit stops yet. He's gone 25 laps. Mike, 1 pit stop. Chris Martinez, 2 pit stops. Ellie and TJ, 2 pit stops. Team Loco, 1 pit stop. Shane and Keith are now officially in second place, with both Shane and Keith and Justice and Nunzio each taking a pit stop. Shane and Keith are roughly 3 seconds ahead of third place. Henry and Ryan right behind, a few seconds behind them. We're back on board with Henry and Ryan. I don't think I've called this out yet, but this is Henry driving for the team. He's closing the gap on Nunzio and Justice. I think Nunzio's still driving for them, even though they're taking a pit stop. It's 2 seconds back. It's the closest battle at the moment. Let's go over to 7. Who's here? Oh, 7 and 8 is a very close battle also. Oh, and I just jinxed Chris. Right when I jumped onto his car, he spins out and goes off the track, increasing the gap to P7. We'll jump on board with Team Hugo and Matt. I think I've been informed that this is Matt driving. Hugo did the first stint. So this is now Matt Devlin. Very quick driver. Let's see what the timings were before. So Hugo put up a 1:21.1 in his first stint. So let's see if Matt can improve on that time. I'm pretty sure he's capable of it. Going back on board with Henry and Ryan. P3 is getting slowed down by P9, allowing P4 to close the gap quicker than if it wasn't without traffic. Coming into that front straight, if he gets a good exit with the traffic, he might kind of a faulty exit, but it's all right. P1 is, P9 is still slowing him down. Team Loco steps out of the way, gives him room on the inside to have a quick exit. Allows Ryan to keep chasing behind Nunzio. A little bit of a spin, but he controls it. Might have peed his pants a little bit, but he's still in the race. He's about what is that? Almost 2 seconds back, 1.5 seconds back. Meanwhile, Nunzio and Justice are closing it down on Shane and Keith. Still a solid gap. We still got 4 seconds. But he's coming up on... Who is this? Who's he behind? Is it Tony? It is Tony. So this is P3 coming up behind P5. Big exit. Justice cheerleading from the back, pleading for them to get out of the way. Knowing that Henry and Ryan are right on his tail, but Tony steps aside and lets him chase. Very respectful driving from the blue flag drivers. As he's in pursuit. 2 seconds is a long time in racing, but one mistake will do it to you. Ryan was in hot pursuit, but we just caught him on camera with the spin, which is unfortunate, falling back about 5 seconds, leaving a 5-second gap to Nunzio and then a 5-second gap to Shane and Keith. I was just checking in on the map to see when the next overtake was going to happen, and Shane and Keith team just had a spin doing that big sweeping right, allowing Nunzio and Justice team to have a nice easy pass. Let's look at their times though. Justice and Nunzio, last lap was a 23.3. Shane and Keith did a 22.9. So about 4/10 faster. So even though they're down now about 3 seconds, they are running the faster pace. Meanwhile, Hugo and Matt have set themselves up to have a 1-minute lead. Almost a full lap of the whole grid. Pretty impressive lap times. Even though their last lap was a 23.4, they still have a significant lead over the rest. And Team Shane and Keith go off again. Let's see if Ryan can catch up. Ryan and Henry back in the race. He's got him in his sights again. P4 trying to close the gap in P3, but we got P8, Chris Martinez, right in front of P3 here. So again, we might have some traffic slowing down the pace, allowing P4 to catch up. It is nice to see though, P4, 3, and 2 are all within 5-6 seconds. On board with Henry and Ryan as we wait to see if Shane and Keith hit traffic coming into this turn behind Chris Martinez, P8. Henry and Ryan are tightening the gap. It's about 1.5 seconds now. Probably due to the traffic, but we'll see. This is a tight zone. It's really hard to pass even traffic, but Shane finds a way. Or is that Keith? Team Shane and Keith. Shane's still on the, just got the report, Shane is still on the car, has a nice overtake in that area. Chris Martinez lets him by nice and easy. Now Henry and Ryan have to battle to get past him here. Good line, good exit. Let's see, but all three guys are keeping their space, so running the same lap pace basically. Chris goes a little wide there coming out of that corner, allowing Henry and Ryan the easy overtake going into the straight. About 1 second gap now between Shane Keith and Henry and Ryan. back on board with Henry and Ryan, trying to overtake Keith and Shane. He just went up the inside. We thought he was going to have him. Shane and Keith closed the door on him. This is a tight section, but again, overtaking going into that front straights. So if Henry and Ryan can focus on their exit, they might be able to overtake him going into the T1. Stay on board here and watch for a good exit. Pretty good. Oh, got a little anxious on the throttle. Spun just a little bit, lost about half a second. But let's see if he can gain it back. Let's look at their lap time. So Henry and Ryan's last lap was a 24.0. Shane and Keith was a 23.5. So Keith and Shane half a second faster. But I'm guessing it was that spin coming in into that front straight that cost him that half second. If you hear some extra voices, we got Cole, aka Choobs, and Hugo, DP Wisdom. Hugo driving on the Matt Devlin and Hugo team. Yeah. I did notice though that your gap from P2, you guys had over a minute. What happened to the 6 seconds? You guys pit it? Or?
I saw TJ was showing his car. I come in and I go to the sim and I see Matt spin out on the last hairpin before the two rights.
This one?
Yeah.
Right where car 2 is right now, that corner. That we've seen all night. Probably half the grid has spun at that one corner.
You know, I got very throttle happy. Half of my laps going around there, I'm like correcting almost half the time because I want to go hard on it. It's a really tricky turn.
What do you think it is? Is it because it's cold, being at night?
No, it's not. No, it's not that. These cars have like a lot of power coming out of the rears, so any little throttle on a tight turn like that's gonna trigger a lot of spin. Yeah. You just gotta take it easy. In second, or you can go a little harder if you're in third. Okay. I feel like everybody has. I was gonna say maybe the bottom half, but now P1's even spun there. Yeah,
so
it happens to everyone.
Yeah,
it's
everybody. It's a tough corner.
Yeah.
You know, that corner and also right here, this corner, we're getting a lot of spins here too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
That turn is true.
Yeah, a lot of guys are taking it out wide or keeping it too sharp and then they'll spin out.
Okay, yeah.
I'm seeing it kind of both ways.
With these Mosul wheels.
Let's jump on board with TJ real quick. TJ and Elion. Look at TJ Elion team with the purple sector 1. Love to see that.
My God.
He just overtake P6. Hugo from P1 is running away from the desk enraged. This is Elion driving for the TJ Elion team. So Elion putting up the purple sector. Good to see some good performance out of him. See if he can close the gap. I wish we could see where, let's see, P5. I wonder what the gap is to P5. At this point in the race, with a big gap on P1, it just shows that they're 2 laps behind. But I want to know what the gap is here. Oh, you know what? On my other screen, I can see it. So Elion and TJ are 6.5 seconds off of Tony Abrams. Tony Abrams is 2 laps off of Ryan. Is less than 2 seconds off of Keith and Shane. Now decreased to 46 seconds. I paused because There's some banter in the back again. Elion was surprised that he was 2 laps back. So he's got some work to do. And back on board with Henry and Ryan. Looks like they're coming up on some traffic. He's coming up on Tony Abrams in 8th. Tony was respectful in the last corner. Almost squeezes him, I think unintentionally. Henry and Ryan were taking the outside line. I think Tony was trying to give him the inside line. Here we are, about a 1.5 second gap from 4th to 3rd. And about a 7-second gap from 3rd to 2nd. So it's still a race. So we have a request from one of the team members to see if we can change the leaderboard from gap to leader to gap, the interval gap. So let's take a look at some settings here. Is this it? Is this the interval gap? Let's test it. Yeah. Cool. So now we can see, this is what I was looking about earlier, because once the race gets so far apart, it just has 2 laps, it's hard to tell where the cars are relative to each other. So now we have the real times over here on the left and the map to kind of verify that. So we are seeing cars, Henry Ryan in the pits, Shane and Keith in the pits. Their pit stop strategies might determine who gets out first, but also who can stay out the longest. Henry and Ryan had a pretty quick pit stop. Maybe just taking fuel. Maybe they didn't take tires, I'm not sure. But they came out pretty quick. So Nunzio, our team Nunzio Justice just changed out. Justice is getting in. Justice is pumped. See how he does, but he just fell into 4th as a result, letting Shane and Keith take the pass since they had to take a pit stop. Keith also in the hunt. This is Keith's driving of the Keith and Shane team. On the hunt for Henry and Ryan team, with Ryan currently the driver. Got 3/10 here. I think Keith is definitely going to make a pass by the front straight, if not sooner. This is a tough area to pass, but he's right on him. Keith messing with him, faking the inside pass, getting in Ryan's head. Keith going for the pass. Ryan, a little spin out. Keith should give him some space. If he just has a better exit right here, he'll have an easy overtake on the front straight. Yeah, perfect execution. On the inside. On the brakes, side by side, door to door. A little bit of rubbing. No harm, no foul. Keith starts to pull away from Ryan. It's a half-second gap already. There's a great line traction through there. He's got 3/10 on that corner. Even more by the end of this straight. Nice driving by Keith. We'll jump back on board with Ryan as he tries to chase back his position. We're on board with Shane and Keith, with Keith driving here as he's closing the gap on Ryan in P2. Keith was a whole lap down, I believe. But we got Keith pulling up on Ryan, right up behind Matt and Hugo's team. And they're coming up into traffic. They got Chris Martinez at P8. We'll see if he slows them down, allowing any overtaking between P2 and P3. I see Team Loco on the side of the road up here too. We got some drama around the corner. Let's see what's happening. Looks like they're being respectful and seeing the traffic coming, letting them pass before re-entering onto the track. I just noticed that these two drivers battling, Henry and Ryan team versus the Shane and Keith team, are actually right next to each other at Apex 1, sitting side by side, battling for P2 and P3. Both their co-drivers are sitting behind them filming this epic battle. Keith trying to take the inside line. Ryan not letting him have it, holds him outside. Oh, and Keith gives him a polite little shove out. Didn't really touch, but I think Ryan was trying to avoid contact. Ryan falls back one place. Meanwhile, also P8, Chris is snuck by. Ryan's trying to take the inside. Tricky lane. Chris just takes the inside line the whole time. Missed the apex there, had a slow exit as a result. Oh, too early on the throttle and he loses control, bounces off the wall. Probably got some damage to that front bumper. Let's see if my system says so. Yeah, at about 12 miles an hour he hit the wall. He's got damage on the front arrow, rear arrow, and on the side skirts from the multiple collisions off track. All yellow, all minor, but still will impact his lap times. back on board with Matt and Hugo. Matt just passed P7. Looks like he's coming up to lap P2 right now. So these guys want to put a full lap gap between first and second place. Matt putting up a 22.1. Meanwhile, Keith's last lap was a 22.6, so a half-second gap. It's hard to tell the interval gap between the two of them because he is coming up to lap him, but I would imagine he's about 1.5 to 2 seconds behind him. right, we've got 4 laps left. Let's get on board with P1. I'm not sure if this is Hugo or Matt, but this is the Hugo-Matt team. Hugo is driving. His last lap was a 121.139, which was his fastest lap of the session. But Elion, for TJ's team, just did a 121.280, his fastest lap, only 1/10 behind Hugo's fastest lap. Would have been the fastest lap up until Hugo just set one, but I don't think they're going to make up a whole lap's worth of time in the next 4 laps. So it's unfortunate that his fastest lap doesn't really amount to anything, but still good to see. The track is very spread out with these 4 laps left. This is probably going to be the grid. Actually, but look at the purple sector here on sector 1. Oh, let's jump over to Mike. 4.5 seconds away from Nunzio, which I believe is Justice driving, right? Yep, so we got Justice on the sim. Mike trying to pull into the top half of the grid. That is a dirty looking car. He's probably spent some time in the mud. But down to 3.8 seconds. Let's look at his lap time. So Mike is running his fastest lap right here if he can keep it together. One of the few drivers running a negative delta at the moment. He's catching up on Justice and Nunzio, who are about 2 seconds off their pace. Looking like they're going to run a 24-second lap, while Mike's putting up 23.5s. Little loss on the exit there, which probably will impact his high-end speed, but he's still gaining time. Mike down to sub 3 seconds, really closing the cap on Justice. Mike, negative delta, it looks like he's right on pace, negative 0.08 seconds. Meanwhile, Justice is up 0.65 seconds on his delta. So Mike showing his endurance at the end of this 2-hour soloed race. Thanks, Will. Now, maybe the seat time has given him that consistency, or he's got that mental fortitude to stay in there for 2 hours straight and stay dialed in, running very consistent laps. 23.0 is his fastest, and a 23.5 was his last, so very good to see after such a long race. But look at the side of that car, covered in dirt. He's definitely spent some time in the mud.
Just having fun.
Yeah, why not? 1.7 seconds. Let's go, Mike. Last lap of the race. Push. This will be the last overtake we see. Let's go. Oh, I'm hitting the wrong F1 button. Let's go on board and let's get a good aerial view of this. See if we can get it under a second now. 2 hours later, battling for 5th place. There it is. Great exit. Oh, little bump. A little bump from behind. But Mike's got that pace. He's just got to get a good exit here. Hold, be patient. Justice's co-driver Nunzio is telling him to stay right and take the inside line, but Mike's gonna hit it late on the brakes, take the outside line. Justin, get the overtake on Justin. Justice hits the pit maneuver. He's getting sent to the pits. No, he's got to give back the position on the last lap. We'll take it from him in the stewarding review at the end. What a great overtake by Mike. Late on the braking, at the outside line. Great effort at the last lap. But this will be the final standings. We'll go back on board with the race leader here. I believe this is Hugo finishing the stint for the team. The great Beefy with all his wisdom. Wins the race a whole lap ahead. Fantastic driving from Hugo and Matt. But great driving from Shane and Keith as well. They had an unlucky start, starting from the pits all the way in the back. I think they were in 8th place when we jumped on board with them. Battled all the way up. And then my board's kind of messing up right now, but I believe Henry and Ryan took P3. Yes, that is correct. Henry and Ryan got their podium secured. Great racing tonight. 2 hours, Okayama, GT500s. A lot of drama. 24-hour cycle on the clock. A lot of fun. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope to see you here at Apex soon. Thanks.